Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, start.
Yeah, so good afternoon. Happy Sunday to all of you. And warm greetings from Department of Fashion Design, ICAT Design and Media College, Bangalore. Well, our guest is on the way. So before we have her, I just want to tell you people about the entire webinar. So today, actually, this webinar is going to be on leather industry. She is a leather expert. She has worked in the industry for 7, 8 years and still working in a very reputed brand. Um, After this webinar, we will share with you a link which is again related to a very general quiz. So you will solve the quiz and you will submit to us. That is how you all will be getting the attendance for this. And for first year and second year students, this will be marked for your extracurricular subject. Okay. So this is one thing. And yeah, I'm very happy that on a Sunday, yeah, all of you, almost all of you have joined the webinar. And feel free to ask questions, okay, by the end of it, because this is regarding leather design, and generally you are all studying fashion design. So even leather design is a part of fashion design, and we can take it as a specialization. So ask any question, whichever, like whatever doubt you have in mind, ask to her once she completes a webinar. So after that question answer session, then we will post you the feedback link, feedback as in the quiz link. So you will fill that after that. So again, just mute myself till we start and we invite her. Vaishnavi, let the recording be on. Okay, do not stop it. Yeah, I think we already have Sonam Mandal with us on the link. So, yeah, good afternoon, Sonam. We welcome you to IKIT College, Department of Fashion Design here. And yeah, all students are there like to greet you. So, we'll just hand over to you, Sonam, and to tell everyone she's a very old acquaintance of mine. Sonam, can you hear me? Sonam, are you there?
Me? Can you see me?
Wait, I'll just look. And yeah, everyone can also pin Sonam so that you can see her. Wait, Sonam, I will pin you. Yeah, yeah. So I think we can start now with Sonam. Sonam, can you please brief about yourself?
Okay, hi everyone. First question is whether you can see me. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah.
I still don't know that. Okay. Hi everyone. I don't know you people, so I'll just give an introduction on myself. I studied in NIFT Kolkata. I am a 2012 pass out, and after that, I have worked with various export houses, retail houses. Even right now, I'm working with a designer brand. Uh, I guess it's one of the best we know now. So maybe you can take a guess. He is doing very good in bridal wear, and we love his designs. Not a Manish Malhotra, but someone who is rooted to his culture, also from Kolkata. So yeah, I'm working there in the core merchandising team. And other than that, I have also worked in Dubai with the Landmark Group, and there I've worked as a designer. So basically, I've been doing designing, merchandising, as well as other related works. Like I've been involved in VM also a lot of times. I've been involved in marketing stuff. So yeah, it has been a lot of learning till now, and I hope to learn a lot more going forward. And I think that's about it. Anything more that you want to know, you can ask me anytime.
Yeah, so Sonam, I have actually set some questions for you since
Mhm.
you have worked for a lot of time in the leather industry and recently shifted into designer label. So for today, we have kept leather design, understanding leather industry for students. So before we start with the questions, first thing I want to know what inspired you to choose fashion studies?
That's an old story. Long I have to go long time back. So basically, I I'll start with very long time back. Like when I was a kid, usually kids play with toys. That's what we know. I am told by my mother that I was a kid who used to play with crayons and colors. Like I used to play with colors. So anytime she wants to get anything done from me. She would just give me colors, and then I am all settled. So I used to play with colors, and I grew up to be a person who likes drawing, who also joined drawing classes, and then after that, which is a very common thing, I think. I am from Kolkata. In our place, I mean, it's a very common thing to get your kids involved in all extracurricular activities. So yeah, I learned drawing, and then after that, I think in class 6 or 7, I used to see these fashion shows, FTV and all that, because I was also learning French, and um, I heard of this channel where there are these. I mean, I think it was in French channel or Fashion TV, whatever. Fashion TV was there, so I used to watch those models walking, and it was so fascinating. I wanted to dress them up. I found out that there is a way to dress them up. It was in class 6, 7, and I told my mom I want to be a designer. Some people from my family, I mean, my nani, she also thought, okay, maybe I want to become a model. She's like, no, 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 you're not supposed to do this. What is this? No, no, this is not good. I'm like, I will dress them up. They will walk. I will just dress them up. So that's when first time I heard of fashion design. And then later, after class, okay, 10, 11, 10, 9, 10, 11, 12, that time I took art as my additional subject. I had to take something. So I loved that. So I took that, and trust me, there was a lot of competition in that. I mean, all for the other subjects, no one had to literally like shortlist. But for this subject, because there's no studies, everyone thought, okay, let's take art. So from there, when the prelim kind of exams were taken for the art students, I got good marks in that, and I got into the art subject. After that, I came to know about NIFT from my art classmates, and then I just applied. Somehow I just got into NIFT, and that's it. So basically, if I wouldn't have come to NIFT, I would have gone to government art college. That was what I had thought. That was what my plan was. But then somehow it didn't happen. I even gave exams for, okay, there was a bit of coincidence also. I mean, I gave exam for Presidency College also. I gave exam for Xavier's also, Jadavpur University also. And somehow before those results came out, the call letter from NIFT was waiting at my gate, like at my door, and I didn't have to literally leave one thing and take another. It was like something was, I don't know, I just felt like something was destined to be there, and I just went for it. In fact, the very day when I was supposed to give my sociology exam in Presidency, I got late for it. Somehow I got late for it because I went to Jadavpur University for English exam, and I got late for the socio exam. My family was telling me take English honors or socio honors, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do drawing. I wanted to get into government college or NIFT. I had already given my exam for NIFT because I was just waiting for the results. And that day when I missed my exam for socio in Presidency, when I came back home, like I was a little upset I couldn't attend the exam. But then the call letter was there at my door on that very day.
That's wonderful. So don't go in nostalgia, Sonam. Don't go in nostalgia. Let's come back. And I have actually one question for you. Like, what is the difference between fashion design and leather design in the industry? Like when a person goes in the industry, what's the difference if you have felt because you have worked in both the industry?
Okay. So as we all know, basically fashion design is known as garment design and things related to fashion, but it is mostly known as garment wala design. Okay, like even in college we used to think of that. And leather design is mostly designing anything that is a leather product. It can be garments, it can be upholstery, it can be house, it can be lifestyle, it can be personal belongings, anything, bags, belts, anything. So that is the basic difference. And in the industry also, I have seen, like I've worked in the industry for almost 9 years now. In the industry also, I have seen that people have this kind of a difference in their mind. But the thing is, leather design is also like in college, we had two different departments called leather design and fashion design. Fashion design, people used to do more of garments and we used to do more of other accessories. But in industry, leather design is also a part of fashion design actually, because anything that you do in fashion is a part of fashion design. So I also have my colleagues, my classmates who were in leather design, who are into mainstream fashion right now. They are designing garments or accessories or even lifestyle products for designer brands, even for big brands, like mid-level brands, but very big brands, well-known global brands. So there is not really any fixed demarcation that okay, this is fashion design and that is leather design. After some time, like when you are into the industry, it all becomes a part of the global fashion industry, and that is where you have to shape your own path, and you have to explore yourself and find out what is good for you.
So thank you for thank you for answering this question. I have a second question for you. What is the scope of leather design in career?
Okay. So leather design.
As a
I'll just
career.
give a little brief on why I chose leather design.
Yeah, sure.
I am from Kolkata. I am originally from here, born and brought up here, everything. And Kolkata is a place where it is hub for small leather goods, for bags and accessories, bags, belts, and wallets, and all that. Okay. Same way, likewise, Kanpur is known for upholstery kind of leather products. Chennai is known for garment kind of leather products. I mean, those are all leather products. That, this, or whatever you consider, they are all leather products. But Kolkata, if you see, is a hub for small leather goods. Now, I had to take a subject which will give me more opportunity. Obviously, I have to think logically while choosing my subject, my department. So I thought I can stay in Kolkata because it is my hometown, and I will also get to study something which Kolkata is good for. So it was very easy for me to take, like when I got leather designing, I got it and then I took it. So leather designing, when I took, it was very useful for me because in Kolkata there are so many export houses in leather. There are so many manufacturing units of leather. It is a hub of small leather goods actually. So, like you said, scope of leather design in my career, it was very easy for me because I am from this place and it was very easy for me to adapt. Other than that, globally, leather products are made all over the world. We know so many big brands. We know Hermes, we know Birkin bags, we know Louis Vuitton, we know Gucci, we know Prada, we know Chanel. Endless list. Even if we talk about the mid-level brands, okay, let's talk about Zara, let's talk about H&M. They are also making leather products like bags and shoes and leather jackets. That is part of garments. So everywhere there is no place right now which is not touched by the leather industry. The shoes which you wear is, I mean, even if you're wearing a leather footwear or maybe you're wearing a sneakers, but then that industry, that segment, there is no segment which has not been touched by the leather industry till now. It is there, it is everywhere. Look around yourself and you'll understand. It is everywhere. So all brands, mid-level to smaller brands to designer brands, everyone is doing it. It's a matter of expression for everyone.
Sonam, I have one question which is again related to this scope of leather design in the industry. Like in our college, we teach fashion design to the students, and leather would be just a material, and just as like today, they have just got a glimpse of it. So if in future, in career, because there will be opportunities in every line, and as you say that it is also applicable to garment industry. So if a student needs to prepare him or her for the leather industry in fashion design, what extra inputs they're supposed to give, what they have to learn extra to get qualified for a leather design industry.
Could you repeat your question, the second part of your question again?
No, I just like a basics, tips you want to give to the students, like which is not taught in a fashion design subject, like in depth or basic things about leather, what a student should know if they're opting for the career of leather later after they are graduate.
A fashion design student, if he or she
Yeah,
wants to go for leather.
yeah,
Okay. I think for leather, the biggest challenge which a fashion design student will face is the material. That is the biggest challenge, I think. Other than that, in fashion design, I think you people are being taught pattern making and you're being taught garments. Are you being taught accessories like bags
yeah,
and okay,
yeah,
accessories? So you know all the how to make all these products. You know how to design. Now the only thing that you need to know is about leather. Now leather is a very difficult material. Let me tell you, it is a very difficult material. It is not like fabrics. It is a natural material, and it might. I mean, even if, what I mean is natural material, not like just like okay, cotton is also natural material. It's a fabric, but it is woven manually to make it into the cotton fabric, to turn the yarn to the fabric. But leather is a fully naturally made material. It is the entire hide is made naturally. Only you cannot do anything about it. The only thing you can do about it, and then yes, you process it, you process the hide, and you get the leather. The only thing you can do about it, now look at the thing that there's so much constraint in it. It is not there in making a fabric. In leather, there is a lot of constraint because it is a fully naturally made thing. So now what you can do with it after the hide is there, you can just process it. You cannot change the shape of it. You cannot change the ticks marks on it. You cannot change the holes or whatever is there on the leather. Everything is natural. That is why sometimes when we have a leather product and there are certain small marks on it, it is considered to be the beauty of the leather. I'm not talking about ticks marks. I'm talking about certain minute, very little marks. If it is there, it is considered to be the beauty of the leather because it is a handmade product, because it is a natural made raw material. So like that, when the leather is made, after that you only have to, what you can do is you play with the thickness. You can cut it out into different shapes, patterns, and make your products. You can, yeah, I think that's all you can do. You can give it a different shape with different patterns. There's nothing else that you can really do. So leather and the way how you assemble a leather product is also very different than how you do garments. So for a fashion design student, you should know more about how to make a leather. Maybe I would suggest if someone needs to know both these things, they should be practically given an assignment or two to make a leather product themselves. Then they will understand how really it is made. The stitching machine is also different for fashion design, I mean, for garments and leather. The stitching machine is different. The pasting methods are different. We have to do splitting, skiving. All these things are not there in the fabric thing. You just take a fabric, cut it, and make your product. We can't do that. For a leather, we have to take the hide. We have to also manage in the industry. When we are making a leather product, there is a lot of calculations. A different set of department is there just to manage the wastage of leather. Why? Because it is a natural,
and it's expensive.
it's very expensive and it is a natural thing. So there is one full department who just takes care of this, and they cannot go wrong because all the financial decisions of the company will go wrong if that costing team for the leather, they do some wrong calculations. It is, imagine it is not a sheet of cloth like rectangular. It is a regular shape, and from that you have to take out bits and pieces, make your product. Take out the pieces from there. So a lot of wastage is there. A lot of things, a lot of strategies have to be made. How to reuse the scrap leather, the waste parts, where all you can use that. Just hold on 1 second. Thank you. I just got my tea. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that is a big thing. I think unless and until even I in my college days, I have seen my my friends who were in fashion design. They didn't really know. I think I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they didn't really know all the pain that goes into making a leather product.
Yeah. I think in first year in induction they will teach a little bit. They'll give some exposure on classification of leather, and you make a product which is not at all commercial. It's very crafty and it's unfinished. And it's
Yes,
very tough.
things that no one will buy. To be very frank, that no one will buy. So later, what we make is something that people will actually buy. And even being a leather design student, I think I can make a garment. I can make a corset. I can make a dress. I can make a like pants and anything like jackets. But I think my fashion design friend would not be able to make a bag like I can
Okay.
make.
I think me and our students will take it as a challenge, and want to like ask one more question. Like, if a person from fashion design has a very good sense of product design. Okay, as you said, like mostly we make a lot of products from leather, and the thing is about material handling.
Kritika was saying something. Kritika, you have to say something?
Krutika, you have a question?
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I was asking that if a person is actually having a very good sense of product designing, and only thing she or he needs to learn is a little bit about the handling of material. So does the company aids, like at least in the companies where you have worked, if a person who is very skilled, who is very good in the fashion design and into product design, and knows a little bit of leather, and gets the exposure in the leather industry, so how the industry takes him or her? Do they accept? Students, can you please mute yourself? Students, I think everyone is mute. Sonam, is there some noise?
It was from.
It's okay. No, it's not.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Can you answer me?
Yeah. Okay. So what I have seen so far in the industry, that this cross-linking happens. It happens very well. Like fashion design student can go into. I have friends. I'm giving you the examples from what I have seen in real life. That I have a very close friend who has done leather design. My classmate. He is right now very successful as a VM, as a visual merchandiser. He's like some regional manager of the entire southern part of India. Earlier, he was area manager. Now he's a regional manager. So, like 2-3 states, the brand which he's working with, 2-3 states are under him. He is like the head of the VM over there. So you see, VM and leather design are completely different things, right? Completely different horizons. But he, after doing leather design, also he started with pantaloons and in Mumbai, and then he gradually explored his VM side. Right now, he's very successful as a visual merchandiser. I know one more person, my ex-colleague. She is also from NIFT. Yes, she also from NIFT. I don't remember the branch, but she also did leather designing. She has worked with me as a product designer, as a bags designer, and like she used to report to me, and we used to work in the same team. Now she is working in another company as a VM, as a area VM. I know one more person who was who was my classmate, who is right now into garments. So he is more working like a fashion designer. So this, I am giving you examples of leather design students. Why? Because I am more connected to them. I had my classmates who were doing leather design.
Uh,
Same way, I have seen other department students also who are doing leather designing products and all. Like they have done their fashion management courses or fashion design courses, and then they are right now working as leather designers, or they are working as leather industry merchandisers. So there are different scope which a student may choose while they are in the industry.
so there is scope.
There is scope, and there is a lot of scope. Why I gave you so many examples is I like elaborately explaining, so bear with me when I'm doing that. But I like elaborately explaining because then that makes everything much more clearer. I give you so many examples for you to clearly understand that so many things are already happening in the world. And there's nothing like, if you study this, you cannot do that. It is a very basic thing. Like, okay, forget fashion. It's like if you just consider, there are so many normal accounts graduates, English honors graduates. There are so many of those kind of people all around us, right? Like, it is not a vocational course. It is just a basic graduation, but they are doing so well. I know English honors students who are working in CL and IBN, who are I know social honors students who are working in Times of India, and they are doing so well in ABP News also. I know normal accounts graduates who are working in logistics in Dubai, in Singapore, in USA. Normal graduates. I mean, not a vocational course also. It is how you shape your life in the industry, and how you learn and you explore yourself, you move forward. It is just that.
Wonderful. Sonam, you just have a sip, then I will.
Sorry.
Then I'll have my next question.
Mind that.
Okay. So, wanted to know little brief on the sampling process which is involved in the leather industry.
Okay. So,
And what is and also what is sampling for the students? Just a small like description. What is sampling?
before answering to this, I would like to know, is has it been all has the sampling process or something been taught to the students?
Because we have students from first year, second year, third year, so different set of knowledges. So not all are knowing about it. Final years definitely, yeah. First year, second years do not know, I think yet, that what is sampling in the industry. Very
Okay.
shortly, you can explain them. Yeah.
Okay. There was one more reason why I asked this question. I wanted to know, firstly, whether they know about it, how much they know about it, if they have an idea, because then it is easier to explain, right? And because I remember when I was in college, I couldn't understand what is sampling in the industry. It was not my forte at that time, right? So another thing is, I wanted to know, these students are into fashion design or leather design?
No, we have a fashion designing course running here. We don't have leather design. It's a very new thing for them. So we want to be in the basics, the basic concept, the basic understanding, and the scope, as I already discussed with you. So simply like what is sampling process related to leather, you can explain to us.
Okay. Okay. So, like sampling in itself, uh, when we hear the term, we know that, okay, this is the first sample being made. Okay. There are different sets of samples. The first sample, the pre-production sample, the post-production sample. In the industry, there are so many samples which are being made. Okay. It is not just one sample. So when we talk about the first sample, we take the raw materials, we procure the raw materials, whatever it is, leather, or you need thread, you need rivets, you need eyelets, whatever materials you need, lining, you procure all the raw materials. Okay. So with the raw materials, you know that, okay, this is the raw materials, and you do the, with leather, okay, we have to do the costing first before making anything else, okay, because leather is very expensive. Always remember, like, this is always to be remembered, because leather is very expensive. We will first do the costing. How much will the sample cost? So basically, we will take a design, we will first make the we'll first make the pattern. Okay, we'll first make the pattern, and then with the pattern we will take out the costing. No buying, no spending, because it is very expensive. Beware, always like beware. It is very expensive, so no sampling straight away. First you make the pattern from the design, whatever is the design, if you have the design. And okay, now design may come from the buyer. If you're working in an export house, design may come from you. If you are in a manufacturing unit, the designer may design. Also, sometimes the buyer tells the manufacturing company or the brand to design, or if it is a retail brand, then they do the designing themselves, or sometimes they outsource the designs from some other designer who is a freelance designer. There are different ways, every step. So I'm not going into all the details. Just for one thing I explained, because I want you to know that every step also has multiple ways of doing it. Okay, so you do the pattern, you take out the costing, you see where all you can save. Leather parts you have to use very wisely. So where all you can save, you do the costing. After doing the costing, you are happy with the price. Okay, I need a product to be sold at 1,000 rupees. So my costing has to come 300 rupees. So then is it coming to 300 rupees? If not, we will make changes in the pattern again, and then we will proceed. Okay, so costing done, pricing I'm happy. After that, I will make the sample. Sometimes we make a foam sample, like EVA foam. There's a thin foam sheet with which you can make the sample just for the look of the product, the shape, the size, to understand. Like I told you again and again, leather, we have to always be very cautious. We cannot waste leather. We cannot waste leather at all. Nowhere in the world, and no one would like to do that. So every step is taken to control the wastage of leather. So we can make foam samples and see the look and the shape and all that. Other than that, when we are happy with everything, if we are very confident, okay, we don't need to make the foam sample. We will just straight away make the sample from that. Now that is the first sample, where the sampling department together, they will make the pattern, they will they will assemble the product, and they will make the first sample. In the industry, there is not just one sample. Like in the college, when we understand sampling, it means only one sample. You make the sample, you like it, okay, put it into production, so you can make the final product. In industry, it is not like that. We think like that when we are in college, but it is not like that. There are different sets of samples. The first sample I've explained to you. This is the very first sample. So this has to be approved by your own team, or by the buyer, or by whosoever you are selling it to. If you're doing your own brand, so your own team has to approve, or your manager has to approve, or you have to approve as a designer. After this, in industry, there are 2-3 more sets. After the first sample, there is post-production sample, pre-production sample. So with this first sample, you know this is the kind of product I'm going to make, but you also make one more sample, because this becomes your master sample. This first sample becomes your master sample. So you make one more sample, which is the pre-production sample. And this pre-production sample is circulated in the production floor. Like production floor, I mean the place where the entire production process happens, where the workers are working and they're making the products. There, this pre-production sample is circulated. They refer to that. And the master sample is kept somewhere else. It should not be tampered, because that's your initial idea. Okay. And with this pre-production sample, the production happens. After that, they will match with that and see after the product is matching with the pre-production sample. And sometimes the buyers also ask for a. Am I boring you guys? No, right?
Not at all.
Technical. I know too much technical. Okay. So after this, sometimes the buyer also asks for a post-production sample, or we also need to keep a post-production sample being in the manufacturing unit. So what we do, we take out one sample, one piece from the production. Suppose we have made 100-piece lot, we have produced 100 pieces lot. No, sorry, let me frame it the other way. Like, suppose the buyer has asked for 100 pieces production. So we will not make 100 pieces. We will make 101 piece. That last one piece, that extra one piece will be our post-production sample. So when we are doing export or we are doing whatever we are giving to anyone, they cannot come back claiming that this is right or wrong, the product is not correct, because we have approval at every stage. These samples are our approvals. The first sample we have for our reference, which we might have shown to them physically if they come, if the buyer is coming to our unit. If not, we are sending pictures or whatever. So that is our first approval actually. Then the second approval will be when the pre-production sample is made, that we are giving to the buyers for them to approve. Check, is this okay? They say yes, it is okay. Signed, approved, then we proceed with the production. So after the production is made, again we take out one more sample from there to be 100% sure that we have met their requirements, their expectations. They cannot come back saying that this is not matching with the pre-production sample. So that is why we again keep that reference. So sampling is basically our, it basically defines our parameters of the expectations, the requirements, the specifications of the client, whosoever it is. It can be a buyer, it can be normal customers in the retail industry as well, whatever. Are we clear on this?
Yeah. So again, before moving into the next question related to like when we started talking about leather, so I had some more queries. I mean, like for this, like on behalf of students, actually, I want to ask you, like, what is the classification of leather? I mean, basic different types of leather, and the cost of leather, and also people do mock leather, right? Sometimes, like some people who don't have very thorough idea of leather, they might be, I mean, fooled. I mean, something else presented as leather, like there is pu mock leather. So can you like give them an idea of the difference and how to distinguish?
Okay. The last point is very interesting actually, because most of the people right now, they are in this craze of buying leather jackets, but they're not actually wearing leather. Seriously, I mean, I have seen that so many times in life. Even my brother, he bought a jacket. He's like, see, I mean, it's not leather jacket. He's like, okay, but it's good. It looks good. Anyway, that's their consolation. But for us, because we are designers, we are not to be consoled. We have to be particular. We have to know what exactly we are buying, and we have to be 100% confident about our decisions. Okay. So first thing which you asked was
Classify leather.
types of leather. Yeah. So different types of leather are very basic, broad classification. I would tell you there is cow leather, there is goat leather, there is buffalo leather, there is sheep leather. Okay. So these are the 4 basic leathers on earth. Then there are exotic leathers as well, where I have seen fish leather. I have fish leather. I have seen lizard skin leather. I have seen snake leather. Now these things I haven't seen much in India. I have seen abroad these things more, but yes, it is used in India as well. These are exotic kinds of leather. Okay, there is one more thing. There is this fish now which has dot kind of a texture, stingray, or what fish is that? There is a kind, I think stingray. That leather is also available in the world. So that kind of texture. These are exotic leathers. Okay, these are very, very expensive. Very big brands, they mostly use these leathers: fish leather and snake skin and lizard skin. And lizard skin, I mean, it's not exactly a hide. Okay, don't get it that way. Lizard skin is a kind of exotic leather. The design, the print is like a lizard skin, so they call it lizard skin, but it is mostly cow leather or goat leather.
What is used most, Sonam, in the industry? Which leather is used most?
Like I gave you the 4 basic things: cow, buffalo, goat, and sheep. These are the 4 things which are used most commonly. Now I will just give you very briefly a basic difference in all these. Goat leather, okay, first difference I'll give you about the sizes. Buffalo is the biggest, goat and sheep, as we know from the shape or size of the animals, that it is small. Cow is moderately big, okay, and depending on the texture, if we have to distinguish them, then goat is a little more. How do I explain that? Goat is a little more um, stronger. It is a little more rigid. It is a little more rigid, not stronger. I would say it is more rigid. It is not very easily bendable. Cow, because it is big enough, it is easily it can be very easily shaped into whichever shape you want. Goat can also be done only when you do splitting. There are a lot of things in leather. I'm trying not to go into so much detail for now, but okay. So goat, you can just understand this much for now. Okay, it is a little more rigid. Cow is not so much more rigid, and goat is smaller. Cow is bigger, and buffalo is very big, bigger than the cow. Okay, and buffalo is a little thicker than the cow and the goat. It is thicker and it is much bigger. Okay, and sheep is very soft. It's like very soft and it has a smooth feel. It's very nice. Sheep leather is very nice. I mean, just like you see those animals, cute, cute and fluffy, fluffy. So you get that feeling in sheep leather as well. It is very soft and very warm. Why I'm telling you all these things is these characteristics define these leathers to be used in different products. How? Buffalo, because it is thicker, it is also a little stronger, like durable. So that is why it is used mostly in upholstery.
Can you explain them upholstery?
Upholstery means the leather that is used in sofas, in seating arrangements, in your car seats. All those things is part of upholstery leather. Okay, so these things have to be tough. Buffalo hide is tough to take all that. Other leathers are not so very tough. Okay, now cow leather, what did I say? I said it is big and it is easily, it can be shaped into other products very easily. It is soft. It is moderately soft. Not so soft as sheep, but it is moderately soft. But cow leather is less expensive than goat and sheep. So what do we do with cow leather? These characteristics I told you now. Every characteristic defines where it will be used. So that is why cow leather is used in bags. It is used in wallets. It is used in other small accessories, desktop products, or all the basic products which we look around, which we see in our daily life. Most of the things are cow leather. Okay, sheep leather, because I told you it's warm and cozy and nice. It is used in garments. It is very soft. It is nice. You can wear it. Cow leather, if you wear it, it is going to be very stiff. You won't like the experience. But sheep leather is like warm and nice. So you wear sheep leather. It is used in garments. Goat leather is also sometimes used in garments because it is a little thinner than cow and buffalo and all that, and it is lesser expensive than sheep leather. Sometimes they use goat leather in garments also, but not always, because it is a little more rigid. That is why we don't like it in garments. So goat leather can be used in accessories as well, like belts and bags and all that. How do you asked one more question? Okay, are you clear on this? I will move on to the next one then.
Yeah, the most interesting part. Before that, one more question. This classification you did, now costing, like if they want to source, simply if they want to source the raw material for making any product, what would be the costing of these four like basic leathers?
Costing of a leather depends on various things. I really cannot quote it right now because there are different grades of leather. There are different grades. By grades, I mean the best leather, the second lot, the third lot, the fourth lot, the scrap leather. Everyone has different prices, and all these money from the same set of leather also you have first, second, third lot, and all these leather have different prices. Okay, so it is depending on which lot it is from, how much wastage you are ready to incur in your products. Accordingly, you will get the price of the leather from the same tannery, from the same lot of leather. Leather will vary. Leather price will vary. Also, there is no fixed price like that. Okay, and also, other than the grade, the kind of leather, I can give you a broad idea that buffalo and cow is moderately priced, sheep is more expensive, and goat leather price falls somewhere between the uh, like it is above cow but lesser than sheep. This is the broad idea I can give you about price. That if you whichever leather you want, you will know which is more expensive, which is less expensive. But otherwise, leather depends. The price depends really on various factors.
Sonam, you have worked in actually Kolkata and abroad. So, if you have any idea, here the students who are attending are from right now they are either in Bangalore or they'll be from Chennai. So, if they want to make a leather product, you know any place where they can do the sourcing of proper leather material?
In Chennai,
Chennai and Bangalore, if you have the knowledge.
I do not know. If I may come across anything, I will let you know. But as of now, I do not know. Like I told you, my college, my work,
Yeah.
everything has been either in Kolkata or I have been in Dubai for a few years. I really do not know. I've never been to that part of India till now.
So I have a next. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. The next thing, the interesting part is mock leather, PU, and how to distinguish so that we don't get fooled.
Right, right. Okay. So I'll give you a very easy trick. How to, do I have a product with me right now?
Take
Can you
your
give
time.
me, yeah, give me a few seconds. I'll just look for my wallet and I will try to show you a very easy way. Wallet or belt, let me look for something.
Take your time. Take your time.
Just give me a few seconds, huh?
Get a mock leather also.
Huh, pardon?
If you have mock leather also, you can get that.
Yes, yes, I'll do that. I'll get these things and I'll show you exactly. Okay. I'll just turn off my camera for a while, huh?
Yeah.
Let me look for it. A scavenger hunt. I can still hear you guys, so if you want to talk, I can talk while I look for the product.
If anyone else has a question, you can frame it. I have just made the questions based on whatever like will come in a mind of a student. So if the student asks, it would be even better. Anyone has any question, you can also type in the chat box or you can also put it in audio.
So we have to identify how to recognize an original leather, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I have my own tricks, huh? I don't know how everyone does it, but through time, I have learned my own tricks, and I can also show you um, one product which is of faux leather. Faux leather meaning pew or rexin, as we call it.
Yeah.
Okay. Nowadays, let me tell you, nowadays the world, the technology has advanced so much that that it is very difficult to really find out the difference between original leather and faux leather. I have seen certain pew from China. They are so good, and these people they also put this leather kind of a perfume on that. So even if you smell it, some people smell and try to find out if it's leather or not. I have seen my seniors in the industry who do that. Um, they can identify leather like that. Like I told you, there are different tricks. That is their trick. I have my own tricks, but So that smell is also being copied nowadays. I mean, they smell that, they spray that perfume, the leather kind of a fragrance on the fall leather, and then they sell it like that as leather. A lot of things are going on in the world right now. Okay, so I will show you the basic difference. Now this is a bag that I have. Can you see it? I mean,
Yeah.
the look. So this is a leather bag that I have. What kind of leather do you think it is?
You said cow for bags.
Yeah, I said cow for bag. So this is cow leather bag. Agree?
Yeah.
See anything else? Like a closer look or whatever. This is cow leather bag, right? Now we know that okay, if it is a bag, mostly it is cow. It may not be cow also. Okay. But this is not a leather bag. This is a pure bag.
So how to understand that?
Okay. For this bag, it is very easy. Open the flap and you see the opposite side. It is woven. So these people did not sell it to me saying it's a leather bag because they know with so much obvious reasons I will not agree this is a leather bag. Okay. So this is, you see, Pew will have a woven back surface always. Leather, on the other hand, it's a natural product. It will never have a plain surface on the others, on the opposite side. Either it will be like a rough skin. It should be like a rough skin. Okay. Now this bag was easy to recognize. But if we have something like this is a wallet, right? We do not have any open surfaces anywhere. It's all stitched and everything. How do we understand if this is leather or is this a pew? So my trick, what I do when I buy a leather product, when I want to buy a leather product, what I do is I try to look for places where it is open. That's my secret, where it is not stitched properly. So you find in this wallet, I don't know how much you can see. Can you see this? Here there is a beading that is happening. Yeah, there is a little bit portion over here, which can be pulled out. Like you can see the reverse side. If the reverse side is woven, it is pure. If it is not woven, so it's leather. That is one way. But not in every product you can go to a shop and actually start peeling it out that, okay, let me see the opposite side. And most of the products don't even have that thing. But every product I have seen till now, somewhere or the other, they will have this kind of a scope where you can see the opposite side. You just have to peel it like this. I don't know if you can see. Can you see where am
No. Bring it up. Bring it up. We can't see. Yeah,
now? Can you see?
a little bit.
Place in the coin pop in the gusset area, there is a place where I can lift it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the products, even in a jacket, even in a shoe, there will be some place where you will get one raw edge. If you get one raw edge, just try to lift it up like this and see. Is it woven on the other side or is it like a skin? If it is like a skin, if it is not woven, then it is leather. For sure, this is 100%. But in case you cannot do that, there is one more way, which I do. Like I told you, everyone has their own tricks. Have a closer look at the surface of this. This is a pew. See very carefully. Gather all that you can understand from here. Can you see the surface?
It's very even, I feel, compared to a leather. Like
Okay.
there, as you said, there will be natural spots like which you consider as beauty of leather. Those
Yes.
will be probably missing in full finished products, right?
Okay. What else? That's
I
it.
think others should also guess something.
Now there are leather which are pigmented. In like not all leather skin is processed the way it is, like naturally. No, some are pigmented. So when we see a pigmented leather, I don't have an example of that here right now, but when we see pigmented leather, it is like this. It is even. It is even. It is the texture is perfect. Why? Because it is not naturally, the skin is not natural skin that they have processed. They have embossed the print on it and they have made it like a pigmented leather, and the pigment has covered up the natural marks and the natural look of the leather. Then how do you identify? Then it becomes more difficult. It looks like pew. Then you will think it is pew. Even the pew will look like leather for you. Pigmented leather is very difficult to identify. It is not the natural skin. So what I do is, when I have to know whether it's a real leather or not, I take a very close look on it. Very, very close. Like, see as close as you can. This wallet. If you see this wallet, can you see the texture of this wallet very, very carefully? Can you see any difference?
Yeah, like we have lines in our palm, no? Similarly, like there are lines
Correct.
running.
Anything else? I don't know, in the camera it is difficult to understand.
It's difficult. It's hazy, a little bit, pixelated.
No? Okay. I will just tell you, when you go to any shop who say they sell leather, someone who claims, because someone who is selling leather will definitely sell it in the name of leather. Someone who is not selling leather may also say, this is leather. But someone who is selling leather will definitely say it is leather. They will not sell it by the name of pew. So go to a shop, that says, we sell leather. This is a leather product. When they say that, pick that product up. Before that, okay, today I will teach you that. Look at your own hand. See the skin. Look very closely. You will find there are certain pores in your skin. You know what are pores, right? Everyone has pores on their skin. There should be. So now, if you can't, now what I am trying to say is, like human skin has pores, all animal skin has pores. Animal skin's pores are more visible. Human skin pores are not so visible. Sometimes it is more visible. For some people it is, some people it is not. Right? Nowadays we have makeup also, not to cover the pores and look more beautiful. That. Okay. So pores are always visible in animal skin. We are also animals. Sometimes it is more visible, but in case of other animals, it is more visible. So look into that product, have a close look, you will find pores in it. If it is pew, you will never find pores in it. Be it pigmented leather, be it any leather, you will find pores in it. There will be small dots in it, which is never ever going to be there in a pew product. Never. Even if this is a leather product, this is this is I think a goat skin. I can understand that by the texture. This doesn't look like a cow skin to me. Cow skin is more coarse. Goat skin is more less coarse, right? So look for the pores. And the other trick I told you, that's a bad way of checking, but look for a place where there is a raw edge and turn it and see the reverse side. Basically, these are the two things that you can do. Otherwise, nowadays technology has evolved so much, there is literally no difference between leather and non-leather. But don't get fooled.
Wonderful. I think we are going beyond time, but still I have like some curiosities there. We already have one question from Madhura. What is the finishing given to the leather to increase the shelf life of the leather products?
Okay. There are different kinds of finishing that is done on a leather. A leather, when it is a natural hide, when we convert that hide to leather, hide is the natural thing, right? So when we convert the hide to leather, that time only during the processing of the leather, we do a lot of processes, like we salt the leather, we put a lot of chemicals on the leather. That is the thing which increases the shelf life of the hide, not of the leather. Because once it is a leather, it is supposed to be like that forever.
It's finished product.
Yes, it is a finished product. But till it is a raw hide, from the raw hide to the leather, that process, that entire process, there's a lot of things in that, different processes.
Great.
And
Uh,
the thing
yeah.
that once the leather is made like into a finished leather, after that there are certain ways where how you can preserve the leather for a longer time, because leather also turns bad, huh? There may be molds on the leather, there may be different kind of fungus, and the leather may get spoiled, the color may bleed, the color may get faded. A lot of things happen to the finished leather also over time. Maybe if you keep it for so many years, it may become bad. So there are certain other chemicals which you get from tanneries, which you keep applying on the leather, and you have to keep it in a room which has less of moisture. Even when we make products, leather products, when we make the products, we last packaging part where we are packing the product to be finally shipped to our stores or to our clients, that room is a dehumidified room. There is a dehumidifier machine there, and there is no moisture in that room. We try to control the moisture. The more moisture leather is exposed to, it will become more bad. It will develop molds and fungus like that. Even when any product, if you keep it in the shelf, don't touch it. Don't touch it. It is in the shop or it is in your home. Don't touch it, and it will remain good always for a longer time. But if you touch it, the oil from your hands, the moisture from your hands, once that starts getting in contact with the leather, then the leather starts getting bad. Now, if I have used this wallet, it has my hand moisture. If I leave this, it will have fungus. But if I just buy it and keep it like that, it will not have fungus. So if you want to preserve a leather product as it is, don't touch it.
Sonam, we will definitely touch the product if we buy it for a show or something. We'll touch it. So after that, what is the solution we can do?
After that,
Wipe it?
wipe it off. Wipe it off. You can just use little soap and water, not too much water, just a drop of water maybe. Just wipe off your hands moisture. That thing causes this thing. Also, you can keep it in a packet where you put silica gel and keep it dehumidified. Keep it away from moisture as much as you can. Keep it in an airtight packet. Don't let the external atmosphere, the air moisture get into that. No moisture should come in contact with that. That is the way to preserve leather for a longer time.
Okay, great.
Tell me.
Last question, actually, in very brief, you just explain us that product design, like how do we do product design? Garment design, they are already learning. They know the process, like how a design process runs. Okay, and if they don't know, they'll be taught. But a very small brief of a product design.
Okay. Whatever I have seen in the industry till now, there is not really difference in the process. I have designed garments also. I have designed accessories. I have designed scarves. I have designed bags, belts, shoes, so many kind of products. Everything, the process remains the same. The design process is same. You do the design, the theme, the mood, the color theory, the forecast, the market study, trend study, all that. The entire process is same. Trust me, it is same. After that, it is only the product that you're making is different, and the materials which you're using in the product is different. There is no other difference really in the process. The process remains the same.
Sonam, one interesting question came in my mind regarding this. You said color research. So when we design garments or we want to decide a season, it's wonderful. Like so many colors are there, less of restriction in the fabrics. So for leather design, if we have to make a color board, how is it actually? How many colors are there available in option?
Okay. It is not, when we talk about leather products, this is actually a very interesting question. When we talk about leather products, it is not that we don't have options. We have a lot of options. We can choose any color. It can be green, yellow, blue, orange, blue, pink, anything. We can actually make anything, any color in leather. Nowadays, technologies are so evolved that we can do any color in leather, but any color in leather doesn't sell. Trust me. That is heartbreak. That is the biggest heartbreak. Any color in leather doesn't sell. Today, suppose Pantone, like I remember 2018, 2018 Pantone announced the color of the year as ultraviolet. It's such a beautiful color. It was awesome. I loved the color, but I couldn't make bags in that because people will not buy it. I know my customers. People will not buy an ultraviolet bag. What will they do? They will go and buy an ultraviolet dress. And then they will buy a basic black or white color bag to go with that ultraviolet dress. So my market is not the ultraviolet. My market is what goes with the ultraviolet. Because ultraviolet is the color of the year declared by Pantone. Now that is a big thing, right? Every year we follow that, the entire world follows that. So my challenge is to think of something which goes with the ultraviolet, not the ultraviolet, because ultraviolet is not my thing. No one will buy a purple bag. How many of us really go and buy a purple bag? Even if we buy, we will buy it in few. We will not spend so much money and buy a leather purple bag. We won't. Okay. So leather, when we are making leather products, we use the fashion colors. There are three kinds of colors, right? Core, fashion, and accent. So core is basically the color which is majorly used in the product. Fashion is the color which is secondarily used in the product, and accent is the color which is minimally used in the product, like talking about the proportions. So when I am designing a leather product, I have to use fashion colors less in my product, and the core colors, like for leather products, if I talk about bags as an example, the core colors will be navy, it will be black, it will be tan, it will be cherry for some clients, it will be tan, black, cherry, navy, maybe brown max to max. No, not
Beige.
brown. Yeah,
Beige.
beige can be there. There can be one more color, very beautiful color. Taupe. Taupe is a very popular color
What
in
is
the taupe.
which color?
Taupe is how do I show?
Is it some kind of blue and green?
No, taupe is a kind of a mixture of beige and brown kind of.
Okay,
It
okay.
is a darker version of beige. Beige is more subtle, more calm. Taupe is like a little more winter version of that. It's like that. Okay, so what was I saying? What was I saying? Sorry.
You were into colors, like I asked you the question about.
Oh, yeah. So primary, so the core fashion accent colors. So when ultraviolet, like I gave an example, I will use ultraviolet in my products, but I will use it as an edge ink. What is an edge ink? The ink that you apply on the edges of the bag or the product. That is called edge ink. So maybe I will use it like that. You can also refer to one of the Fendi bags few years back. It was a white color bag, very geometrical kind of a shape bag. They made it in white, not white, ivory colored leather, like off-white leather, and they used multicolored edging all over the bag, like top may red edging, yellow edging on the side, blue edging here, green edging there, and it looked beautiful. But that is how you have to play with leather products, with accessories. You cannot really go all on the face. That is how you have to play. And yes, sometimes any color is very prominent, like suppose a yellow is very, like mustard is very prominent in a season, so you want to make a mustard bag, yes you can make, but your majority of the collection will not be that. Your 60% of the collection should be your core colors always throughout the year, irrespective of whatever Pantone says, whatever color of the year is, your core colors have to be your majority of the collection. Fashion maybe, okay, if that is 60% core colors, then fashion maybe 60, 70, 80, maybe 20 to 30%, and then the remaining 10% or 15% can be your accent colors. That is how you can play. You cannot go overboard like garments. No one is going to buy a mustard bag. Very less people buy mustard color bag or an ultraviolet bag. Yes, I will keep that, but very minimal, not many pieces. Just to give that fashion thing into my entire collection, I will keep it. That's it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I am done with my questions. So, if students have some questions, they are already putting on the chat box. I'll just put the questions from students' end. Does leather smell odd? First question.
No.
How? I mean,
First
how
of
does
all,
it smell?
sorry to say, but Prajwala, the question is very odd. As in, leather doesn't smell odd. Leather has its typical smell, like every skin has. Even human skin has a kind of smell of its own. Every animal has its own smell. So it is that. It is just that dogs have it, cats have it, human beings have it. So it is their own smell which they have, but during the process, most of this smell is gone. Trust me, it is gone. And people who are saying, like I told you before, also there are certain people, they spray this kind of a perfume on the fall leather and they sell it like this is leather. That is when you get odd smell. Most of the people, because original leather, they try to remove the smell. But false leather, they will spray it with that smell, the fragrance.
To deceive you.
Yeah, to deceive you. I have seen so many bags like those, the typical tan color bags which we get in the market, typical tan color bags. They say leather, leather, leather. They will put tags, genuine leather.
I
But
think, Sonam, in Kolkata, in New Market, those street shops, no, they'll sell the bags plenty. They say it's leather.
leather bags. Leather bags, yeah. One time there was this vendor, he was trying to sell something like that to my mother, and my mother suddenly told him, you know, my daughter is a designer, leather designer, and you are trying to fool me. I was like, Mom, let's go. It was embarrassing to hear me, Mom, let's go. I mean, not to him. Okay, so yeah, it happens in daily life.
Okay. Next question is, what kind of dyeing is done on leather?
Okay, this is a big, hectic, time-consuming process where a hide is changed to leather, processed into leather, like I told before also. So there are different types of dye, okay, dye is a way of
Sonam, sorry to interrupt you.
leather.
Sonam, sorry to interrupt you. You should also hear to the third question and then you can answer both in one. Like, what is tanning and what kind of tanning is done in the process of manufacturing of leather? So that's the third question.
So
Now,
the thing is, to understand this process of tanning and dyeing, trust me, we had a full subject called leather related, like something, I don't remember the name of the subject, but there was one full subject, okay, where we had to learn it from the book. It is a huge process about tanning and dyeing and other salting and pickling, and these may sound very yummy, but okay, these are processes involved in leather. There is pickling, there is salting, there is a lot of de-tanning, there is a lot of tanning, dyeing. It's a huge process. So that has to be learned separately. Trust me. It is not something that we just touch upon, because then we will not even understand anything. It's a big process. And for that, you have to go to a tannery and see it yourself, what kind of things are actually happening. And you have to learn about it. Take a book and learn, literally learn. We had this subject separately.
I think we can have a session later if students really have more interest to know in detail. We can have purely on leather subject technical.
Or maybe they can do a tannery visit. We even did those kind of things.
Yeah.
If I really want to know.
Okay. So the last question, no, not the last question. The fourth question is, in general, what kind of stitching machinery is used and how is stitching done on it? I mean, on the material.
Okay. It is very similar to the, I believe you know already, you've seen in our college, in the leather design labs, leather department labs. The machines were a little different than yours, right? You were in FD.
Yeah.
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 So I'll tell you one basic difference. It looks the same. The machine looks the same, the stitching machine, for the garment, for the fabric or the leather. But I will just tell you one difference, that in garment, the stitching lines are straight like this. It is like straight, 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 straight. The dashes that go straight. In leather, it is oblique, 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 oblique. It's not straight, 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 because leather needs more binding, and leather needs that needs a little more space to to adjust, to be molded. So that is why, because it is a thicker material than a fabric, right? So that is why the lines are oblique. It's not it is like a straight
So
line. It is oblique. That is one.
the movement of the needle would be different, and also the needle size would be different, right?
Yes, the needle size is also different. The needle is not, the number of the needle is not the same. The type of needle is not the same. So from far, if you see the machine, it looks the same. But when you make one stitch line on it, you will understand it is a leather machine or it is a fabric machine.
Correct. So
And
one more, yeah, sorry, carry on.
sorry, okay, I will just touch upon that. Like in garments also, there are different kinds of machines, post bed and flat bed and all that. In leather also, there are those kinds of machines, all types of machines.
Uh, so now I have the last question. Sonam,
I just,
using
I just read that. That's why I have this smile on my face. Okay.
yeah, I'll just read it out first. Using cow and buffalo for our human purpose is not fair. Is there any other way presently for making leather other than this?
Okay, this is a question I can answer to it and keep talking on it for one full hour or maybe an entire minute. Seriously. Okay, but right now we don't have so much time, so I'm not going into the debate part. Yes, there are ways where you can make faux leather. The entire world is trying to uh, come up with ways where you can make faux leather, something which looks like leather, something which is as durable as leather. But till now, as far as I have seen, these faux leather, they can just look like leather. They cannot be so durable like leather. They cannot be so tough like leather. Obviously, there will be a difference between a natural thing and a synthetic thing, which has been, um, which people are trying to make to replace leather. It is not fair that debate I'm not going into. Really, I'm not going into. I mean, human rights and PETA and so many people are already doing so much work on that. I am really not going there, fair or not fair. I can only say one thing, that this world, which I feel personally, it is working based on the uh, food chain and the ecological balance and all that, right? The ecosystem, it is always like someone kills someone for their own needs, and then either they feed on them or they use them as leather. I don't know. But that is something which is not a part of the fashion industry or the leather industry right now. We're not talking about that. The only thing which we know about that ecological system is that these cows die, and that is where we get the leather from. Or these cows get slaughtered for meat, and that is where we get the leather from. So unless someone slaughters the cow for eating, we don't get leather. Or unless the cow dies, we don't get leather. And I'll tell you one more thing: if the cow dies by old age, then we don't get good quality leather. That skin is very wrinkled and it's not very good leather. You won't like that leather. No one will like that leather. So when a cow gets slaughtered, and then only we get the good quality leather. So it is a byproduct. The leather is the byproduct of the meat industry, actually.
See, everything, if we look around, even the nature, beauty and harsh, both is there. Like there are two sides of a coin.
If
So,
we stop feeding, I mean, then everything will collapse, right? I'm not talking about animal, but I'm saying, suppose we are eating plants also, no? I mean, that is also there. So, like we'll stop having anything? I don't know. That is a big,
yeah.
big question. Yeah, we are not really discussing that over here. But I just want to tell you this much, because I wanted you to know that leather is a byproduct of the meat industry in India.
Yeah, that thing, you can again repeat that line.
That is a fact. Yeah, leather. Oh, want me to repeat that line? Okay, so I said that leather is a kind of byproduct of the meat industry of India. So if the meat industry collapses, if everyone becomes a vegetarian, we don't have a leather industry in India. Believe me that when I say that, it is true. It is a fact. Not only in India, all over the world, people slaughter animals for consuming, and that is why we get the leather from there. No one kills any animal just for the leather.
If we go in the history also, it started that way naturally. Like first thing is for us is food. So once we get the food and what is the byproduct, then we start knowing the property of it and how it protects us from the weather, the cold, and we start using it. That is how I think things started. Yeah, now
Yes.
for commercial purpose, lot of things are done. It's like both ways,
Now it
if you
has
see.
become like a desire. Now leather has become like a desire. Now leather is no more just a need, it is a desire. People like to possess good leather bags and leather products and jackets, all that.
So it's entirely your choice, like if
Yes.
you want
It
to.
is your choice. If you want to buy leather, you buy leather. People who love leather, they will always buy leather. And people who are
Yeah.
sympathetic towards animals, then they will go for
And
leather.
definitely, you will go for making people aware. There are so extremes in fashion, like people who try only use natural, right? They won't
Baggett
even.
is doing something like that. We know the brand Baggett. Baggett is completely uh, tied to this concept of not using leather, but they make bags which are very nice, mid-level brand, and they're doing very good as well. I have seen their bags; they are doing good. The material is good. It's sustainable, and it is not leather. They are not harming any animals. So there are ways of doing about going about it. Okay. Anything else?
And that was wonderful, and it was also fun. I mean, a lot of part information plus. I enjoyed it, and students have also thanked you, Sonam. It was very
Mm,
informative and useful for them.
my
Any
pleasure.
more questions? Any more questions from student end, or else we will end the session.
Mm. So now we won't be fooled anymore, I believe. I teaching my friends, my family about the tricks to not to be fooled, to buy a leather product knowing it is leather, and to buy a non-leather product knowing it is non-leather. It is not wrong to buy non-leather product. It is good, but you should know that you're buying a non-leather product. You shouldn't be fooled.
Sonam,
Tell me.
thank you very much. So I would request Vaishnavi to give the vote of thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, thank you, Sonam, on behalf of ICAT Design and Media College, as well as from our students and all the staffs for giving us this wonderful session. And definitely, yes, the session was very, very informative. And thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. Yeah, and then I would also like to thank our Vice Principal, Ma'am, DRAO, and our department for constantly working in helping us uh, to create more and more webinars, to attend more and more webinars. Thank you so much again, Sonam, for this wonderful session.
Thank you so much for giving your time as well. It was lovely talking to you people. And so it's like,
So
thank you.
bye. Yeah, we'll end up the session for Sonam. You can end call and just talk to students regarding a quiz
Okay.
after this.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
guys. Bye bye. Take care. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay.
Uh, Happy New Year.
Bye
Students,
bye.
please don't leave. Students, don't leave the link.
So I'll leave, huh? Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
thank you. We have already put a link. Please go and answer the quiz in that. Again, I'm putting it, the link. So answer the quiz there, and we have noted, and accordingly, I mean, according to this quiz, we will mark you the attendance, those who are attending the quiz. Okay, I hope it was lovely. It was informative for others. Thank you so much. So the link would be open for another 1 minute, and then we will close it off. Quickly copy the link or directly go from the link into the quiz. Okay. Thank you. Vaishnavi, you can end the recording.